everybody, and welcome to our next talk, my DIY pinball on Debian with Philippe Coval. Please enjoy it.
Hello, mini-debconf online watchers. This is Philippe Coval, and today I will share some experiment about how I built a pinball as a hobby. So let me introduce myself. So I'm a software engineer based in France. I've been an open source contributor for a couple of decades now and currently involved into Mozilla rep program. I've been previously involved into different business that use open source, like Tizen operating system for Intel. Then I act on Yocto with Yocto on automotive projects, and my main contribution when I joined Samsung was IoTVT framework. You can contact me at perl.org/rzr. I'm currently material for hire. You can also check what I'm doing. I shared a lot on the Fediverse or Twitter. It's about open source, hardware, embedded Linux, and some experiment melting IoT and 3D worlds. But let's talk about Emilia Pinball. I should get credit to Eric Engvist that wrote this game in year 2000. It's a plain regular Linux game. It's using OpenGL for rendering and SDL, Simple Direct Layer library for OS abstraction. He also wrote an editor using Qt framework for creating new tables. Everything has been published to SourceForge. And a couple of years later, I contributed a couple of patches to port to new platform, load 3D asset. I tried to write my own table, and then progressively I own maintenance of the project. Meanwhile, Debian packagers made a package for this game, so thanks a lot. And recently it was orphaned, but it's not a problem because I will probably adopt it and update it through the Debian game team. And I've been already packaging new tables, so you can try them. Let's talk about the community contribution. So there were some patches from communities, that's pretty cool, and even some extra tables, but for legal reason I didn't want to taint the main project with different assets with different license. It can be a nightmare to maintain, and it can cause some scalability issue because asset size can be a little big, so I didn't want to mix data and source too much. So I suggested authors to create their own project and try to make it as an external plugin for Emilia because it's already designed to do this way. But I believe that auto tools or auto fools, should I say, blocked the creators to maintain their own table, so they integrated their own tab into their own forks of the project, and there was different projects ongoing. So that's a problem I decided to solve recently because I did it by my own and I isolated the code. Now I'm maintaining a separate package for each tables. Let me show you a short demonstration about the new table, which is in Debian testing. So if you load the table, you can play this game. So you can see it like a regular pinball with some lot of effects like a nudge. It has some magnets where it can trigger the balls and so on. But it doesn't stop here because I wanted to port on some single ballpark computer like this one from ST and I've been using Yocto this time. So why did I had a look at this? Because I wanted to check about how can legacy software can run on modern systems. So here we are talking about desktop OpenGL. How can it be deployed to current software stack? Because there is a lot of improvements lately on MiZ3D, X11 now switching to Wayland. We have also the kernel mode settings to get rid of the graphic stuff, and we have also the API for 3D which is evolving. So from OpenGL 1 I try to use an OpenGL ES wrapper to provide GLOS implementation, but probably the future should go now to Vulkan API. So to do this, I needed to get access to the board support package from different vendors. So I ported to Yocto, open-embedded, and made the packaging for this new custom operating system, which is quite interesting also. And then I benchmarked my board I have home, so I tried on the STM32MP1. I have this one, which is supported by Yocto also. There is also the Dragon board, which is ARM v8, and the Raspberry Pi. And what I really want to check is about the support about current free driver we have on the ARM GPU. And I wrote my own custom profiler to have some metrics. You can decide to deploy to new system, but I wanted to compare to something I can check easily without rebuilding everything, so I get back to Debian for having a stable reference system. So anyway, here's a short demonstration about early results. So this is running on the STM32MP1. So I think here is I was using a software rendering, and it's not displaying full screen, but the performance is enough to be playable, but it can be accelerated. That's what I wanted to explore in the future. So something not really related, but I wanted also to make a Pincab. So it's a pinball simulator in a cabinet. That's something I've been doing during the 2020 lockdown because I wanted to get busy. And I created something which is very low cost, so you can replicate this without investing too much money. So it cost me virtually almost nothing because I reuse existing stuff. I made some salvage of existing equipment. So I found a digital signature screen, which is quite heavy, and I put it on 2 threshold, and then you can level it up to 1 meter, and it fits like a real pinball. For the hardware, I use a very old PC, which is running on a Pentium 32 bits. That's pretty old. And then I needed to add some new buttons. So first I had a keyboard, then I stripped some mouse each side of the display, and it fit my needs. I wanted something easy to dismantle and to move in different location. Anyway, I tried it on Future Pinball first. So it's a Windows game, and it's quite old now, but you can install it on Linux using Lutris. There is a demo table. It's running Wine emulator for the loading DirectX API. It's not free, so I wanted something free like and lib or like Emilia Pinball. So I want to port Emilia to this new setup. So how to do a Pincab from using Emilia? So first you need to support a different display, like in portrait mode with a camera which is in static view and displaying almost all the table. And then I wrote some script to boot directly to a random table, and it's using X11. I also try to run on Wayland and do some systemd startup script, and I wanted something easy to boot and to turn it off. So I'm using a read-only file system on a USB key. I also need to handle new inputs type and eventually in the future new outputs. So currently I just need some buttons to control flippers. So using the mouse I can have 2 buttons. So if there is two mouse I can have 4 buttons, but only 2 are used because they are the same. So for flippers I can use a right and left button, and the plungers I can use a middle button. I can try to emulate nudge effects by combination of buttons also. So here is a demonstration of the setup running. So it's running on this old PC, and here it's running the same GNU table, and even the cat is staring at the ball. So I believe it's realistic enough. I have two displays on this setup, but only one is animated currently, and you can notice some nudge effects also. So now I wanted to support new inputs. So nudge control is not very intuitive, even if it's a combination of mouse. My friend that tried it didn't really manage, so they were tilting the pinballs, so I wanted to make something more natural. So I'm relying now on a motion sensor. It's more easy, but I had to develop something new. So I use another board, which is NXP Freedom K64F. I got this from NetEx conference, and it's shipping an accelerometer. I wrote a driver for it running on NetEx, and currently I'm using a proof of concept using Embed OS, using HEID classes for USB, keyboard, and so on. But this can be ported to other hardware or other operating systems. There are many, like Zephyr, Riot, FreeRTOS, Tizen RT, and so on. So it's a demonstration of my nudge. So let's see this in action. So here is what I have now. This is my Pincab profile, and I can control it using just two buttons from the mouse. And I can also tap on my table on the right, and it will produce a nudge effects. That's pretty cool. And everything is running on Debian, of course. So first, originally, the software was supporting only keyboard events. So I try to produce the same events using a mouse button. So there are three buttons on the mouse. Here I have two mouse stripped to the edge of my display, and with a middle button I can plunge the ball and control each flipper on each button. And I can also emulate a nudge by pressing combination of buttons. Then I use this sensor using this NXP board, and if I'm moving my table, it will produce a nudge event. So it's like a keyboard, and if I'm tapping on it, it will trigger this nudge effect. So it's currently supporting not embed. I can now import it to NetEx, and I need probably some help. And it just works this way. Just play and tap, and it will move accordingly. Now, what's going on for the future? So I wrote my scripts. I want to release this in a final SDL version, then port it to Open Embedded and BitBake, and then publish SDL2 version and publish it on different distro, and to want to deploy this to different single board computers. Some helps or new ideas are welcome. So something that can be valuable is to pick community patch from a lot of ongoing forks. I didn't have a look, but most of them are on GitHub. Experiment some new 3D technology like OpenGLES for embedded, Vulkan API, or eventually play on VR. That can be also interesting. I want also to support many distribution. Debian is fine, but it can be a little slow, so maybe it can be interesting to have snapshot package that anybody can try. Maybe it could make sense also to modernize the assets format. So maybe JSON or GLTF could be the more relevant today. Also, it can be interesting to support a script system and not to rely on a shared library, and eventually see how I can parse other games tables or try to import them. And could it make sense to revive this old pin edit? I'm not sure, but if there is an interest, let me know. And yeah, I already plan to join Debian as a developer. So if anyone want to help me, that's something I had on my plans for a long time now. So if you want to try it, either you can try the Debian packages, once they are updated, or you can just grab the code from Git. So I use GitHub for managing my code, but it's also mirrored on SourceForge. And I use Debian as a reference operating system. You can build a snapshot package from my script or my personal repository. And if you're not running on Debian, you can also use Docker to build and run it on any OS. So if you are even running on Windows, you can also try the game. So feel free to share feedback on my GitHub or upstream at this SourceForge. I probably need to update the description and so on. And if there is no feedback, you can ping me on Fediverse. I have a Mastodon account and you can see all the updates. Something that can be very helpful, because I'm not a graphic designer, but there's many tables that should be, I think, be updated. So this one is a herd table also. So it's working, it can be fun, but it should be, I think, updated to make it nicer and more convenient. So here are some links if you want to get more details and more information about related projects. And yeah, thanks a lot for everything. And if there is any question, I can handle them online on IRC. And I think there is also a pad. And thank you very much for this. And your feedback will be very valuable. So thanks a lot and see you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot for sharing this wonderful setting, Philippe.
Thanks.
Now it is time for questions. So the first one, what is the model of that big screen you are using?
So yeah, I started to answer on the pad, but this screen is actually, it looks like a TV, but it's a digital signage screen. It's not the same quality of a TV set, but it's quite similar. It has only a couple of inputs like HDMI and so on. This one is quite old. It's a Philips one. I think on the slide I put a reference, and if you go to it, there is a link to the reference of the model. I think, yeah, it's from year 2007, so it's quite old, and that's something I got from free because I found someone who wanted to get rid of it, and instead of putting it to the trash, I rescued it. And first I planned to watch movies on this, but it's a bit noisy and there's not some weird pixel at the bottom of the screen, so I was a bit annoyed, and then I had this idea of the pinball, and it works perfectly fine. And this one is super bright if you had a look, because it's using a plasma technology. That's something that's been used before the OLEDs and LEDs. So it's super bright. It's super heavy. The set is about 40 kilograms, so that's super heavy, but it fits on my trestle. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you can do this also using a cathodic ray tray old TV, the big ones. You know, you just need to put it on something to have it at the right level. So that's something important, because first it was just on a trestle, and it was only maybe 70 or 80 centimeters, and it was not very convenient. I have to move my my arms down, so it was not easy. So then I found some way to elevate it to 80 centimeters, and that's more easier. So yeah, that's all I can share about my TVs.
Okay, the next question. Is there any news you would like to share since your talk was recorded?
Yeah, I know who asks the question. Yeah, yes, yesterday when I was recorded this presentation, very late, I should have done this before. But when I checked my mail to send my video back to Debian DebConf team, I also get notifications, and the new herd table has been merged into Debian, so it's now in unstable. And it has been pretty quick, because this table has been fixed maybe 1 week ago. So it was submitted by Yad, my uploader. So I want to thank him. And it only took a week to get it accepted, while the first one, which was a GNU table, for some reason it took like 6 months or maybe a bit more. So yeah, FTP master sometimes can act in a mysterious way. I think there is nothing more to no news to share. As I said in the video, I plan to probably join the Debian gaming team to release a new version of Emilia Pinball. That will be an anniversary release because it was been first released 20 years ago for Christmas. At last Christmas, I packaged the GNU table for the community. So now I should have a new package update.
Okay. Thanks a lot for your talk, Philippe.
You're welcome. I see one last question about if it's possible to have ramps. Actually, the tables I shown have ramps, so that's something that should be investigated later, because I know that there is an editor made in Qt. I didn't show in this presentation because I'm not sure it has any future, because I wanted to create tables using a 3D editor and then try to convert this to Emilia Pinball, but it's not something easy to be done. So I believe that most of the community are using the pin editor. Maybe this can be packaged in Debian also. It's a Qt4 application, so it should be properly ported to new Qt framework. And with this, yeah, you can design anything, but it's not as easy as using a 3D modeling tool there.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. So I keep in touch with the Debian team, and if there is any question, yeah, you can reach me on IRC. My nickname is RZiller. And goodbye, and thanks a lot for having me in this DebConf. This is the first time for me, and I really want to thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Philippe. Bye.